Peace be with you. The Gospel text for the 19th Sunday of the Ordinary Time, Year A, is about Jesus walking on water. Let me read the text for you. Then he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But the boat by this time was many furlongs distant from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, saying, "It is a ghost." And they cried out for fear. But immediately he spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I. Have no fear." And Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, bid me to come to you on the water." He said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Jesus immediately reached out his hand and caught him, saying to him, "O man of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. And those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." My dear friends, this is the Gospel text for the coming Sunday. Let me arrange this entire explanation in a question-answer format. So the first question is, what is the setting for this miracle? This incident takes place immediately after Jesus feeds the 5,000, not including their wives and children. So after he feeds them, he goes to the mountain to pray, and while the disciples go into the boat. So it's like a pair of miracles. Jesus feeds the 5,000, then he walks on the water. While he's up there praying, the disciples are in the Sea of Galilee in a boat. The second question, where exactly does this take place? Is it near the bank of the Sea of Galilee, or the shore of the sea, or in the middle of the sea? The Sea of Galilee is about 7 miles, and the apostles are not on the shore. They are right in between. They are in the middle of the lake, and it is about 3 o'clock or between 3 to 6 a.m., the fourth watch of the night. It is at this time they see a person walking on the sea. The first reaction is fear, because they assume that it is a ghost. Third question, what is the meaning of this greeting of Jesus? Take heart, don't be afraid. What does this mean? The deep meaning of this greeting is that this account of Jesus walking on the water is a theophany. Theophany is a big word, but it just means God manifesting His power, His divine majesty. In the Old Testament, we see that God was appearing to the people, and when people see Him, they are filled with fear. And God responds by quelling their fear by saying, "Be calm, don't be afraid," and then gives them a message. Remember, God makes an announcement to Mary through the angel Gabriel, and she says, "Don't be afraid." And then she gives the message, "The Lord has found favor." What is the deeper meaning of this statement? It is I, or I am. Jesus says, "Take heart, it is I." But the original language is, "Take heart, I am." If you were asked the question, "Is it you?" you will say, "Yes, I am," or "It is I." So in one way, you are disclosing your identity. But Jesus is going further than that. He's not just disclosing his identity as Jesus of Nazareth. Rather, he is alluding to the appearance of God to Moses on Mount Sinai, when God discloses his identity to Moses by saying, I am. For when Moses asks God, what shall I tell the Pharaoh and the Egyptians who has sent you? Tell them, God says, I am has sent you. This is my name for all generations. So when Jesus is walking on the water and then disclosing his identity by saying, I am, what is he actually saying? I am God. And saying, don't be afraid. And by walking on the water, those three things together show us that Jesus is revealing himself to be divine. Walking on the water, saying, I am, and then saying, don't be afraid. Because that is what God would say to the people in the Old Testament when he would appear to them. Don't be afraid. In the Gospel of John, you may recall, when Jesus wants to reveal his identity, he says, before Abraham was, he doesn't say I was, he says I am. Next question, why does Peter sink? Peter says, Lord, if it is really you, let me come to you on the water. So Jesus tells him to come. Peter wants to walk with Jesus on the water. So Peter gets out of the boat, begins to walk, and he walks far enough to actually get close to Jesus. But then it says that when Peter sees the wind, he is afraid. So when he takes his eyes off Jesus and begins to look at the storm and the wind, that's when his faith begins to shrink. That's when his faith starts to fail and he begins to sink into the water. And then he cries out, Lord, save me. And Jesus reaches out his hand, catches him and says those powerful words, O man of little faith, why did you doubt? Peter's faith, if you really see, was pretty great. That is why he could walk on the water. He nearly reached Jesus. But when he looked at the water, the storm, the raging, strong waves, his heart began to sink. Because his faith was still small. It was too small for him to remain there in the face of the storm raging about him. So what was Peter's problem? It is not that he did not have faith. He had faith. But when he saw the danger, he began to doubt. He began to sink. And then because of his faith in Jesus, he said, Lord, save me. So Peter is overcome by fear. And his fear, Jesus tells him, is a sign of his lack of faith. And so it often happens with us. We have faith, but when we come across a big problem, our faith is too small and we begin to sink. Our fears make us doubt, make it very hard for us to see the glory of God. What is the response of the apostles to the calming of the storm? When Jesus got into the boat, the wind stopped. The storm ceased, the sea became calm, and once the apostles see all this, they begin to worship him. Truly they say, you are the Son of God. Now in the Old Testament, it is written that only God can walk on the water. Job chapter 9 verse 8. And God rules the raging waters. Psalm 89 verses 9 to 10. So when Jesus calms the storm, they know that he is God. Because only God can do all this. The Greek word here is proskuneo. It means to worship. So what they did was proskuneo, worship. Now we find the same word in the Gospel of Matthew. The devil tells Jesus, you must worship me. I will give you all the kingdoms, the whole world. So this word again comes there, proskuneo. But Jesus says, proskuneo, worship, is due only to God. Therefore, when the apostles are doing this proskuneo, worshipping Jesus, Jesus accepts their worship. Why? Because he is God. He doesn't correct the apostles and say, no, worship is only due to God. I am not God. So this is a meaning or sign or an indication that Jesus is divine. So sometimes when people ask, where does Jesus show his divinity? Where does he claim to be divine? One instance is this. So the apostles begin worshipping Jesus. And what is the response of Jesus? He accepts their worship because he is God. Now let me go to the first reading. The first reading is about God appearing to Elijah. Let me read the text for you. And there he came to a cave, lodged there, and behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said to him, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Go forth and stand up on the mount before the Lord." And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in that earthquake. And after the earthquake, there was fire, and the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. Elijah heard it. He wrapped his face in his mantle, went out, and stood at the entrance of the cave. A short background to this first reading. Queen Jezebel was an ancient queen, the wife of Ahab. Elijah confronts and challenges them because they are promoting idolatry. They have killed the prophets of Yahweh. And finally, Elijah shows that on Mount Carmel that Yahweh is the true God. And when he shows that through that miracle at Mount Carmel, he orders his people to kill 450 prophets of the god Baal, the god of Queen Jezebel. And then Queen is in hot pursuit, wants to kill him. He runs to Mount Horeb. Mount Horeb is Mount Sinai, where God appeared to Moses. And if you recall, how did God appear to Moses? Fire, smoke, thunder. And that is why Elijah thinks God will once again appear to him in thunder, lightning, storm, fire. But God does not appear in all that. He comes to him in amidst gentle breeze. Bishop Barron has a nice interpretation. Why did God appear? Not in fire, storm and thunder like he appeared to Moses, but in the form of a gentle breeze. This is what Bishop Robert Barron has to say. He says that Elijah ordered the slaying, the killing of 450 prophets of Baal. Probably God was not happy with that. He wanted Elijah, after performing the miracle, to be gentle with them. And God wants to show that he is very gentle. And that is why he comes in the form of a gentle breeze. Well, whether you like to accept this interpretation or not is left to you. But one thing is sure. God tells Elijah, go and anoint Elisha as your successor. And we know when we read Elisha's life, Elisha, unlike Elijah, was a very gentle person. And he worked many miracles. He nearly managed to win the people back to Yahweh, who had left him and were promoting idol worship or worshipping the idol. So what is the connection between the first reading and the gospel? In the first reading, God manifests himself to Elijah. Related to that is a gospel. Jesus shows that he is God to his apostles. Few questions for your reflections. First question. Jesus is praying while the apostles are caught in a storm. And you must be aware that at present, where is Jesus? At the right hand of the Father, interceding for us when we are caught up in the storm of life. Second question for our reflection. When Jesus is walking on the water, he is telling the apostles, do not fear, because the raging waters which you fear is under my feet. And what is the meaning to keep something under someone's feet? To have total control. That is what Jesus is saying. Do not fear. That which is causing you fear is under my feet, perfectly under my control. Third reflection. Peter was a fisherman and he knew the destructive forces of waves. His knowledge of the storm is what led him to doubt. At times, our knowledge about things could sow more doubts than increase our faith. Fourth question, point for reflection. Jesus asks a question to Peter. Why did you doubt? Is it because Jesus did not know the answer? Yes, he knew. But the question is not for Peter to answer to Jesus, but Peter to reflect why he does not have sufficient faith. And finally, the last question. Peter says, Lord, save me. When we are caught up in great problems and difficulties, when we are frightened, if we cry to Jesus, Lord, save me, do you think Jesus will not stretch out his hand and hold your hand to save you from sinking deep down? God bless you.